Greetings, Earthlings and celestial beings anywhere that might be watching. Welcome to the Dr. J vlog series. It's Thursday, January 30th, 2025. On Thursdays, we look at knowledge and science. First, I'd like to do a little experiment with you. I'd like to ask you to sit perfectly still with me. All right? Let's get entirely stationary just for a moment. Well, I feel like I'm wobbling just a little bit. I'm not sure that I'm actually able to get entirely stationary. And indeed, while you may not notice it while you're lying in bed at night or propped up in your favorite chair in the living room, but you're always in motion. You're not being lazy in that sense, but you're on the move. You just don't really feel as though you're moving. And constant motion, in my view, is the most remarkable aspect of our earthly bodily existence, maybe outside of consciousness, but we'll look at consciousness another time. But what exactly do I mean? Well, for one thing, we're all aware that our planet itself spins on its axis at about 1,000 miles per hour, or about 1,600 kilometers per hour. That's faster than the speed of sound. Quite impressive, actually. And that daily rotation, of course, delightfully provides for us our variable experiences of day and night. Depends, of course, where we are on the planet and in relation to our orbit about the sun. And of course, that's another source of our constant motion. We're orbiting the sun roughly at about 67,000 miles per hour, or 107,000 kilometers per hour. The speed varies a bit depending upon where we are in our varying distances from the sun, because as you know, we are in an elliptical orbit about the sun. And as a result, we're going to be at varying distances as we move about. But again, regardless, we are moving extremely quickly. Thank goodness, because if we weren't keeping up, if we weren't doing that 107,000 kilometers per hour on a regular basis, we would be changing the length of time of our standard Earth year. So thankfully, we're pretty consistent in that regard. But if you think that's fast, consider this. It's nothing compared to the speed of the sun that is, of course, traveling through the Milky Way as well. Our sun is roughly 25,000 light years away from the center of the Milky Way, our galaxy, but we're also moving through our own galaxy at roughly 220 kilometers per second. Some, in fact, suggest a little bit faster. Tobi Hann, for example, estimates that our solar system might be moving as fast as 876,000 kilometers per hour. And finally, even more remarkably, our galaxy is also on the move, and we appear to be moving at almost 1.9 million kilometers per hour. So here's a little chart that summarizes these different speeds, these different rotations and movements. We can think of them as unique vectors. And this comes from Tobi Hann's calculations, and I'll give the link in the description below if you'd like to have a look. So what's our total speed then? Well, it's difficult to estimate, both because of the imprecision or the imprecise nature of these estimates, but also because the different vectors that describe our motions may at times to some degree cancel each other out. So in the simplest terms, imagine, if you will, all of the vectors and all of the speeds aggregating. Think of yourself as like if the train is moving in one direction and you're walking on that train as well, you'll have to add this in the same direction. You have to add your speed to that of the train to get your total speed, as it were. So this chart then describes the cumulative effects, imagining if all of the vectors are essentially pointing in the same direction. And by that measure, our total speed, that is about almost 3 million kilometers per hour. All right, which means that we're traveling over 800 kilometers every second. So count 1 second, you're now 800 kilometers removed from where you were just a second ago. And you'll never, ever return to that place where you were. Never again in your lifetime, not even close. Okay? In fact, by the time you're 20 years old, you'll now have traveled roughly about a half a trillion, I said trillion, not billion, not million, a half a trillion kilometers away from where you were born. So when Thomas Wolfe wrote his classic You Can't Go Home Again, released posthumously in 1940, he really wasn't kidding. You really can't go home again. Not even close. So instead, we are hurtling in the direction of Andromeda, our nearest galactic neighbor. So we're the Milky Way galaxy. The Andromeda galaxy is our next door neighbor, so to speak. But we're moving towards each other again at these sort of unfathomable speeds. In fact, we're on something of a collision course with Andromeda. But you need not worry. Astronomers estimate that the collision won't happen for at least 4.5 billion years. But even when that does happen, the galaxies are so spread out and diffuse that it's not likely that any or many of the stars will actually collide with one another. Okay? So that's good news. I'd like you to strike that from your long list of worries or concerns that you might have about our sun colliding with another star in the next or in the not too distant future, because the evidence suggests that that's not going to happen for billions of years. I'm already sleeping better at night. I don't know about you. But I'll tell you one other celestial object that has me at least a bit concerned: black holes. Yeah. Yeah, we all heard about black holes. We read about them growing up and so forth. Maybe in some of our favorite sci-fi movies that dealt with the issue. But regardless, the point is that these black holes, they just seem so fantastical, almost defying our imagination. But we're pretty convinced they're real. So a black hole refers to a region of space-time where the gravitational forces are so strong that not even light can escape the black hole's outer edge, referred to as the event horizon. So astronomers currently have identified three main types of black holes. There could be more. Again, these are very difficult to detect, but the three types vary dramatically in terms of their relative sizes. So, for example, the smallest are the stellar mass black holes. These are believed to be the remnants of the remains of massive stars that have collapsed on themselves at the end of their lifetimes. Okay? And what happens is they form such an incredibly dense uh, form of matter, and the gravitational pull is so incredible, the forces are so incredibly intense that not even light can escape from the black hole's outer edge or get past that event horizon. Now, in addition, there are also intermediate mass and supermassive black holes as well. The latter of which would be millions of times more massive than our own sun. Now, I mentioned black holes. The ongoing concern has been what happens if our star system, or any star for that matter, or any form of matter were to encounter a black hole, or, that is, sort of saunter close to a black hole, meander in that direction. If it gets close enough, what happens? It gets sucked into the black hole. And that's not a pleasant prospect, right? The internal forces would rip you apart and turn you into spaghetti. And you'd never be able to escape the black hole either. So that'd be a problem. So, in short, you really don't want to risk coming into contact with a black hole. And guess what? Bad news. Turns out that our very own galaxy, the Milky Way, has a supermassive black hole at its center. And we actually have evidence of its existence thanks to the National Science Foundation's Event Horizon Telescope. The telescope detected our galactic black hole back in 2017, and it's been named Sagittarius A star, A asterisk, but it's pronounced Sagittarius A star. Okay? And then on May 12th of 2022, guess what? They released publicly this composite image of what they were able to capture. Right? So we're seeing then the rings of the glowing materials surrounding the event horizon of the supermassive black hole at the center of our own galaxy. So black holes warp space-time dramatically, and as a result, what we're seeing are the illuminated glowing streams of infalling matter that are also casting a shadow as well at the same time. Again, that's more or less what we're seeing in the photo. But of course, we're not seeing directly into the black hole itself. That's impossible from our vantage point. But still, I don't know about you. I'm okay just knowing that it's out there and that it's something to be avoided. All right. Thankfully, there are real no worries either about us encountering Sagittarius A star, which is roughly 27,000 light years away from us. So you've got to get really close to a black hole to get sucked into it. But of course, there's a parallel problem. We know that there are other stellar black holes, at the very least, within our galaxy, and possibly millions of them. But these are just too difficult to detect in many instances. So current evidence suggests that the nearest black hole might be about 1,500 light years from us. So again, that's plenty of distance to keep us safe. But my concern is always, well, what if there's one lurking much nearer? Remember, they're difficult to detect because they're just too frickin' dark. So that offers no real consolation, at least for yours truly, because at least in my case, I frequently trip over that which I don't see and objects in the dark. And with my luck, I'll be tripping over the next black hole that we just didn't see. Hopefully not. Hopefully that won't befall your fate either. So for now, though, rest assured, we're okay. Our solar system seems to be pretty, ideally situated in the grander scheme of things, at least while we humans, we earthlings, you know, continue to travel through through the solar system and through the galaxy and through the universe. I think we're okay for now. All right. That said, I wish you all the best. And as ever, may you and yours continue to create peace in your lives and nurture love in your hearts. And we'll see you next time.